All right. Yep. Bugs, cringe. Space Marines, cringe. Chaos Space Marines, the Dark Gods. You know I'm all up in this. You know I'm all excited. Faction Focus, Chaos Space Marines, CSM, the Death to the False Emperor. I have gone full based and chaos pilled in the last year. Night Lords, Ave Dominus Nox, the whole thing. I'm gonna play the metal pipe sound effect. God bless the 4 powers. Let's hit it. All right. Chaos Space Marines, the best cover. If I ever do that tier list, the best one. This one wins. This is the best cover of 9th edition. It's so good. Oh my God, is it so cool. Death to the False Emperor. First said by Sevatar, by the 8th Legion. Sevatar was the first one. Get fucked. So, what's this? Chaos Space Marines get a bit of a bad rap. Yes, they pledge themselves to diabolical cosmic horrors in search of greater power. They do periodically try to overthrow the Imperium's galactic rule, and perhaps they have held a bit of a grudge for 10,000 years or so. But can we really blame them? Yes, we can. I don't like Chaos Space Marines because they're right. I don't like Chaos Space Marines because they're in the right. I like them because fuck you, Imperium. Ooh, I probably can't swear. No, it's been a minute. I should probably be able to swear. Ass and titties. All right. Chaos Space Marines. Look at them. Look at their power. Look at their beauty. So, Chaos Space Marines army-wide rule is Dark Pacts. Beseeching the Chaos Gods with fanatical fervor, the profane champions of the heretic stars pray for diabolic boons, promising the vilest of offerings in return for their power. If your army faction is Heretic Astartes, each time a unit with this ability is selected to shoot or fight, it can make a Dark Pact. If it does, select one of the following abilities for the unit's weapons to gain until the end of the phase: lethal hits or sustained hits. Each time a unit makes a Dark Pact, after it has resolved its attacks, it must take a leadership test. If that test is failed, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So, this is my favorite army-wide rule so far. Oaths of Moment, cringe. Synapse and Shadow in the Warp, pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie. But cringe. Dark Pacts is so fun. Death to the False Emperor, I yell, using Dark Pacts every single time I get the chance and killing a quarter of my army. As chaos intended. Oh my God, I love this. So to remind a lot of you, sustained hits is exploding sixes, and lethal hits is sixes to hit auto wound. So it's interesting to note this between Death to the False Emperor, because Let the Galaxy Burn. Let the Galaxy Burn right now in 9th is exploding sixes across the board with certain weapons on certain turns, but it's passive and free. This is either get exploding sixes to hit with all your weapons or auto wounding on 6 with all your weapons for the possibility of a price. Again, choice, man, choice. I love it. I love tactical decisions. Better generals, better players. Make me win games because I'm better than you, and make me lose because you're better than me, not because I bought the right models and got the good list. Dark Pacts is interesting because when you compare it to Let the Galaxy Burn, it's a flat out upgrade in both ways, right? Sustain hits one is let's say you got yourself a mixed group of Legionaries, right? Legionaries are right here. They've got tons of guns, right? This will allow you to basically just really just rip into people, You really are just able to rip in with all of your weapons. So instead of like, oh, my bolt guns get it because it's Wanton Massacre right now. Or I get on my Reaper Chain Cannon because it's Wanton Destruction. They all get it. Doesn't matter if it's assault, heavy, whatever. It doesn't matter. They all get it. That's amazing. I love that. I think when it comes down to wounding enemies, I think it's like sixes to hit auto wound is better if you're wounding them on a 5 up. I think. But also compared to exploding sixes, that is. And I think if it's a 4-up, exploding sixes is better, or a 4 or a 3 exploding sixes is better. But it depends, because like I said earlier, if you've got yourself something like, I don't know, like a Legionary and you're firing at a tank. If you're firing a bunch of bolt guns at a tank, yeah, obviously you're picking lethal hits. But at the same time, if you have like a las cannon in there and you really just want that chance to pop that 6 for your sustained hit to get 2 las cannon shots, it's a question. But long story short, sustained hits or lethal hits against really tough, chunky targets like knights, vehicles, etc. Sustained hits against everything else. That's generally how I assume. But what's cool is that you can do this as much as you fucking want, man. I'm gonna voice crack the whole day. Like, Death of the False Emperor, bro. I'm sorry. You can do this whenever you want for every unit. Like, oh, cool. All 10 units in my army are gonna fire right now. All of them are gonna Dark Pact. I don't even care. All of you. Death to the False Emperor as I lose like 10 models. Or as the fight phase now, we're all gonna Dark Pact. It's such a funny concept that you can just kill yourself in game. You should kill yourself now to the dark gods. You can just do that. You're just allowed to. Like, I just feel like it. I'm gonna Dark Pact every time I get the chance and watch, because if you Dark Pact after you finish your attacks is when you take your damage. It's after. So you do get the buff on all the units that you're attacking with. So it's a very Heretic Astartes thing. It's short-sighted. It's a short-sighted ability where you can, get all this extra buffs up front, but you have a price to pay at the end. Like, I get power in the short term for long-term possible problems, which is it's just so funny, dude. I love it. It's such a fun concept. So yeah, I really enjoy this whole thing. It's got more skill to it. It's thematic. It's so fun. It gives you options. I really enjoy it. I really like the Dark Pacts. It's so much fun. Only, of course, if you fail the leadership test, which we'll look at a bit more when it comes to Abaddon. Unit spotlight. Let's talk about Legionnaires. Legionnaires have probably the chunkiest data sheet we've seen so far, and it's important because we learn a lot of things to go along with it. So it's the classic case of an aspiring champion and 4 to 9 Legionnaires. Classic case of 10 total. Each model equipped with a pistol, bolt gun, close combat weapon. I'm actually a little bit curious. I'm assuming pistol is like what it used to be before, where you have to shoot with either a pistol or a weapon. But it could be kind of crazy if you could fire with both. It's just like pistol can be shot in close combat. But yeah. Ooh, actually, it would be an easy way to word that. Pistol weapons can only be, only be shot in close combat. Sucks if you only carry a pistol. Screw it. Forget it. I'm on a tangent. Anyway, Legionaries have infantry, battle line, kind of an interesting keyword there, battle line. Chaos, grenades, which is interesting. They have the grenade keyword, but there are no grenades in their ranged weapon thing here. So that's kind of fascinating. And the Legionaries. Their 2 abilities are fascinating. They have the exact same ability the Gene Stealers do. Veterans of the Long War. Reroll a wound roll of a 1 in melee, but an objective marker, full rerolls. I like that it's only in melee. Because Chaos Space Marines are like, Space Marines are supposed to be this nice 50-50 combo of shooting in melee. That's like the concept of Space Marines. It depends on if you're playing Blood Angels or Iron Hands, but that's the concept. Space Marines are always like a 70-30. They're definitely more of a stabby group. So giving that a little bit more of a bonus is nice. As for their war gear abilities, they have a Chaos Icon they can buy, which allows you to re-roll the leadership test for the Dark Pacts, making it a little bit less chance that you're going to get hurt, which could be pretty handy. So as for their weapons, they have some craziness. As we said before, they have a close combat weapon and bolt gun, but the aspiring champion can have a plasma pistol, cursed weapon, a chainsword, and a heavy melee weapon. The first asterisk is maximum 1 per model. And then you can replace the bolt gun and bolt pistol with either of these things if you want them. A single chaos icon, any number of Legionaries can have their bolt gun replaced with an Astartes chainsword to do with the classic chainsword and bolt pistol combo. One Legionary's bolt gun can be replaced with one heavy melee weapon, so something really big and chunky, probably like a heavy chain axe or something similar to that. You can get the Balefire Tome as well. And then for every 5 models in the unit, one Legionary's bolt gun can be replaced with one of the following. Duplicates are not allowed: Plasma Pistol, Flamer, Havoc Autocannon, Heavy Bolter, Las Cannon, Melt-A-Gun, Missile Launcher, Plasma Gun, and a Reaper Chain Cannon. This looks pretty much identical to the prior list. Well, yeah, actually, that is pretty much identical to the prior list. And it says here that you can be found on the Heretic Astartes Armory card. I guess they're making a card that has all the war gear options now, which is really, really nice and handy. So happy to see that. As for their stat line, 6-inch move, T4, 3-up save, 2 wounds, 6 sub leadership, same as Space Marines, 2 OC. Identical to an Intercessor. Like, I'm pretty sure it's literally identical to an Intercessor, which is perfectly fine with me. As for their ranged and melee weapon list, we've got a pretty fancy concept going up here. Lots of stuff to look at. First things first, the Balefire Tome is a shooting attack and a pretty mid one. You're replacing your bolt gun for a 6-inch less range at 5-1-1. I mean, that's not great, like, at all. It could be cheap, you know, like it could be like 5 points, because right now the Balefire Tome is 20 points and it makes you a psyker, you know, lets you deny the witch, all that kind of stuff. But since deny the witch is gone, that does change things up a bit. I'm a little sad. Balefire Tome is one of my favorite things in CSM. I love just putting one on every single Legionary squad I can and just spitting out psychic attacks combined with all my other crap. I just think it's really enjoyable. It's got this like feel to me. So this is kind of shit, but if it's only like a 5-point upgrade, then, you know, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. It's just replacing a bolt gun at the end of the day, and it is better. So, we'll see. Bolt pistol is identical to what we remember. Bolt gun. It's kind of interesting to see the humble bolt gun's profile. It's just bolt gun. No rapid fire, which is actually probably better now. No assault, no nothing. It is 2 shots at 24 inches, 401. So in reality, it's actually an upgrade. This bolt gun is better than before because you can get full shots at max range. So that's cool, but it is still kind of just a pew-pew weapon. Bolt guns are not meant to kill Marines. The bolt gun was invented to murder infantry. And as far as I'm concerned with this profile, it does exactly that. You're using it to kill cultists and guardsmen and squishy Eldar and like Gene Stealer cults and that kind of stuff. Like, it's never was meant to kill Marines. It's meant to kill fodder. It's the whole point. So it's about the same as before. There's a Flamer, has ignores cover and torrents, exact same as before. The Havoc autocannon is kind of fascinating. It's a heavy weapon, and so it gets +1 to hit if you're stationary, good range, 2 attacks, and it hits on 3s, which is interesting. So you can move and shoot it on 3s at strength 9. So it's got a nice little thing to keep it in line, but it's actually a damage 3 now, which is pretty chunky, actually. Because in a sense, it not only hits better, more accurate, because it hits on 3s, and you might even get a +1 to hit. The strength is technically about the same because the Rhino is T9. It was T7 before. Strength was 7. Now it's 9. So it's about the same. Same AP, but 3 damage. It's like just a flat out buff in terms of damage and hitting strength. So that's pretty great. The Melta gun is about the same as we've always seen. It's 1 shot, 12 inches. Strength 9 now, of course, but you know, it's the same. Plasma pistol is, I think, identical. I think the standard one is less AP. I think it was 7.31 before. Now it's 7.21. Basically identical. Supercharged, hazardous. You know, you might take a mortal wound. We've already seen that whole thing. And the Reaper Chain Cannon is actually received quite a bit of a nerf, I'd say. Yeah, it's lost a point of AP. And, but you could get a better ballistic skill because it's actually ballistic skill 4. So it would have been what you were before moving and shooting heavy, but Now with heavy, it could be hitting on 3s, but you did lose a pip of AP. So it's definitely more of a anti-infantry clearer again as the Burt gun. Overall, I mean, Balefire Tome is a little bit unsure about. The Alakan's got a good buff, but besides that, this is about all I expected. This doesn't really surprise me much overall. For the melee weapons, though, it's a bit interesting. They have only 3 attacks each, which is the same as right now. 3 on 3, 401. The Chainsword has 4 attacks at AP 1. Same as before, an extra attack, and it's at AP 1. Cool. The Accursed Weapon is about the same, slightly nerfed. Accursed weapons were power swords that gave you an extra attack. This one does have the extra attack with the 4, but it's only AP 2. Though I think the Space Marines power swords are AP 2 as well. It's just power swords in general have all been brought down. So that's its own kind of piece. And then past that, there's also the heavy melee weapon, which is 3 attacks and only 3. So there's no minus to hit like the heavy chain axe currently demands. And it's 822. I think the heavy chain axe right now is like 842. It's got a huge AP value. But overall, I think, what was it? The aspiring champion can swap and a single legionary. So you can have 2 heavy melee weapons in total. The champion and then also here. It's rather interesting that you can actually replace the aspiring champion's bolt pistol with a heavy melee weapon, but keep their bolt gun, which is rather fascinating. I guess you could give him like a heavy melee weapon and a cursed weapon, but you wouldn't really do that because you would probably only get to pick one of the 2 in terms of attacks. Like we talked about the Gilliman things. So, let's see. But overall, Legionaries look good. I would probably take the icon pretty often because I would like to just Dark Pact as often as I possibly could. And this gives me a really good reason to do so. The fact that they get this nice wound reroll thing on objectives and stuff is really good. It really sells that melee focus of them. And yeah, no, it looks all great. I like the Legionaries a lot. Moving on there. Let's see, what's this? Whether you want them to shred hordes at range of the Reaper chain cannon, flamer, and bolt guns, or tackle elites up close to roaring chain swords at a pair him. Oh yeah, pair as in 2 guys. Okay. There he is. It's our boy. Abaddon the Despoiler. Taking a bit of a nerf from before. An extreme nerf, actually, comparatively. So interesting to note, but even so, it's interesting to take a look. He moves 5. He's only toughness 5. Gilliman and him are about equivalent right now, but in the new thing, Gilliman is 4 toughnesses higher than him and has 1 more wound. They have the same leadership though, but wow, that is a gigantic toughness difference. I mean, I know Abaddon's only in Terminator armor, it's T5 Terminator. That's just what it is now. But I thought he was kind of juiced up on Chaos Roids. Though I must say, from everything I'm seeing with Abaddon compared to G-Man, he actually just looks flat out worse, which might be the point. He might be a much cheaper leader unit instead of G-Man. They're both epic heroes, as you can see down here. Infantry character, epic hero. Yeah, Terminator. Chaos Undivided. Chaos, but he also has all 4 of the things. Korn, Slanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch. So he still has all 4 marks, or whatever you call that now. So there is a little bit of that iffiness to go along with it. But I feel like he definitely is just flat out worse than G-Man, but that might be what's acceptable because that might be the whole point. He might be like 100 points cheaper. I don't know. And he also has the leader keyword, so he does attach himself to a brick of units. I'm assuming most likely a Terminator brick of units, considering he has the Terminator keyword. And he also has Deep Strike, which is kind of interesting. His weapons go as follows. Talon of Horse, 4 shots, 24, 5, 1, 2. So it's basically a heavy bolter. Sustain hits 1. It's kind of interesting. This line to note, I'm curious if, I'm assuming when you take a Dark Pact, you do not, what is it? You do not get like sustain hits 1 becomes sustain hits 2. I'm going to assume that's just not how that works. It's either one or the other. So you would most likely be taking the other one, lethal hits, if you're doing it ranged. I don't really know why you would risk that for the ranged weapons, kind of middling damage. But who knows? The melee weapons, though, we have Drachnium, the Echo of the First Murder, is 8 attacks. So it's actually more than a G-Man's Fist at 14 AP4, 3 damage. And actually, I think Drachnian is just flat out better in like every way compared to G-Man's Fist. I know G-Man's more of a support guy, but still, I'll give it a look. Let's see. Hand of Dominion has lethal hits naturally, so it auto wounds on 6s, but it's 7 attacks at 14-4-4. And this one, it's 4, no. So this one is 8 attacks at 14-4-3, but it has devastating wounds, and you can get lethal hits or sustain hits with your Dark Pact. So reminder, devastating wounds is damage characteristic. So if you spike a good 6 to wound roll with Abaddon, my boy, you're doing 3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence is ending. Kinda nutty. It can be pretty nasty if you get it proper, you know? Pretty nasty. The Talon of Horus is a lot less strong than the Emperor's Sword. His is at 8-3-2, 14 attacks is a 7-3-1. They both have devastating wounds, so Talon of Horus is a pretty substantial downgrade compared to the Emperor's Sword overall. But, I mean, I will say, like, the two of them, like with the way the Hand of Dominion fires, like, it's 6-2-2. This is 5-1-2. I mean, it's got 2 attacks, but it's rapid fire 2. You know, like, it really does look like he also revives, for God's sake. It really does look that, and because he's not a leader, that Guilliman is meant to be a cut above Abaddon. Like, they're not supposed to be comparable anymore. You know, Abaddon is supposed to not be as good as G-Man. Like, that's just the way it's supposed to be. And I'm okay with that, so long as the points reflect it. And that's the statement. So long as the points reflect it. Anyway, Abaddon fucking hits, though. Like, he chunks in melee combat. Drachnian just shreds. As for his abilities, he has the War Master, which, much like G-Man, lets him pick one of these 3. The first one is Paragon of Hatred, which is the first time we've ever actually seen a reroll aura. Within 6 inches of this model, you may reroll the hit roll. I also noticed that is when a Heretic Stars unit makes an attack, not shooting, not melee, an attack. So both. That's a little frightening. I'm not going to lie. That's a pretty disgusting force multiplier, but couple caveats. First things first, he's a leader, so he's going to have to be probably attached to a unit, most likely Terminators. So it's not like he can just go wherever he's needed. He has a whole unit attached to him at all times. And Terminators aren't necessarily known for their shooting. They're known for their melee. He also does not move very fast, as you can tell. And also he deep strikes. If you deep strike, you probably can't use the command phase ability. It's really strong. It's really strong, and it gives him to himself. But I'm kind of okay with it. We haven't really seen anything like this so far. Out of all the focuses we've seen, we haven't seen something like this. And while this is pretty disgusting, it is only one of the 3. And because of that, it's like, you don't know. You don't know. It is really good, but I'm kind of not that scared of it at the moment so far. The second one is the Heretic Astartes Infantry and a Mounted, so I guess it's like bikers and stuff, within 6 inches get a 4-up invul save. That's a really good ability. Legionaries don't have an invul save. You want to run Bricks of Legionaries, they all get a 4-up invul. That's just a super good defensive bonus. That's really solid, very good, nothing to say bad about it. And lastly, Lord of the Traitor Legions lets him have a 6-inch aura of reroll leadership and battle shock tests. So that is actually mega good. I believe Gilliman has the same thing, but instead of reroll leadership and battle shock, it's +1 OC and battle shock. Allowing you to reroll leadership means that you can reroll your Dark Pact roll. So a big old aura of rerolling your Dark Pact roll means you might not fail that test. You might keep not taking any D3 mortals. Next thing you know, your entire army has lethal hits. Bada bing, bada boom. Mwah, spicy meatball. Absolutely nasty. And last but not least, Dark Destiny is each time this model makes a Dark Pact and does not fail the resulting leadership test, roll 1d6. On a 2-up, you gain 1 CP. I actually would have kind of liked it if you just got the CP by just not failing. I don't know why you have to first don't fail the test and then roll a 2, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. And it's only for himself, which is nice. Yeah, Abby's got some chunk to him. Seriously. He hits like a truck in melee, and his abilities are really good, but he's definitely a damage force multiplier, where Bobby G feels like more of a strategic here and there kind of thing. Abaddon is like, I make you kill in multiple ways, either with the hit roll or, hey, fewer mortal wounds and stuff. He really just feels like a really good chaos buff piece. I know I'm always like Mr. Optimism with this stuff, but goddamn, does he look good. Moving on from there, we have a couple weapon data sheets. There's the Bale Flamer, which is a 12-inch range, so its range got nerfed by 6. D6 plus 3, which I think is about average to what it was before, at 612, which is down 1 AP. And this is what shows the torrents are automatic, auto-hitting, like all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a downgrade to before. It's got less AP and less range and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, most things are downgrades. They're very, very good, and we're trying to reduce the lethality of the game, not increase it. So I'm cool with that. I always like the Bale Flamer. Then you also have the flesh metal guns from the Obliterator. Feet. These fucking feet. These ones are interesting because these all feel like downgrades for the most part, besides the Focused Malice one. Now, at the current moment in this realm of Obliterators, like a 9th edition, Warpale was always the best. It was D6 plus 9 shots at 511. Now it's D6 plus 3. Nowhere near as powerful, but you know, it's makes sense. It also has sustained hits 1, so it does get exploding 6s, and that's kind of nice. The middle ground one is just D6. It used to be D3 plus 3. At, I think it was 722, now it's 822, so it's a bit better. And lastly, Focused Malice was D3 before, was strength 9 before, so it's actually it's about what it should be at strength 12. AP 3, damage 4, it's all the same, but it now has melted too. So if you're within 12, you can actually hit it with Melta. And I think these guys probably still deep strike, so that could be a really good and handy piece. Obliterators have always felt overpriced. They've always felt like they're just a little bit too much and a little too crazy. Hopefully they get a little bit of a drop overall in their insane points, but we'll see. We'll see how it might turn out because it can be a bit iffy. And last but not least, the Stratagem Spotlight. This one is kind of, oh wow, this is a really good photo. Hold on, I'm being distracted. Who are they fighting? Oh, Guard. These poor Scions. Oh, and some Space Marines over there. Look at that Mauler feat. Oh my God, it's going to town. Huh. Yo, Night Lord's Omnibus. Let's go. Let's go. Shout it out, boys. All right, so here's a Dark Obscuration. This one is a 1 CP strat. Says your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. One Heretic Astartes unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking attacks. At the end of the ability of the phase, your unit has the stealth ability. In addition, if your unit is the Nurgle unit until the end of the phase, your unit can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12. So we don't know what stealth does, but I'm going to garner an assumption that it's just a blanket -1 to hit. Sounds like what it is. It makes sense what it is. I believe it. The fact that it just makes you a flat out for 1 CP, just one, obscures your unit within 12 is bonkers. I'm going to assume that this will allow you to pick a new target if that target is no longer an option to fire at, because it just feels like a giant feels bad, man, if you couldn't do that. So I'm assuming that's one thing that you get along with that. You can like allow you to re-choose your targets, but wow. This Nurgle ability here has a two-parter in the current edition of 40K. This is a stratagem right now. I forget its exact name, but it is, let's see here, stratagems. Strataflies. Strataflies allows you to make it so that if you are the closest eligible target or within 12, it cannot be shot. If it is a monster vehicle terminator or biker, it costs 3 CP, otherwise it costs 2 CP. So not only does this forego the closest enemy unit problem, so even if it's the closest enemy unit, if it's outside of 12, it still can't be shot, but also it is up to 3 CP. This is one CP. One. Good God. Good God. This is the one that just feels like it's actually like crazy powerful, just insanely good. This is what I'm a little scared of, but I also don't care because, you know, glory to the dark gods, but, you know, at the same time, shit. We'll see how it goes. So, last but not least, Chaos Space Marines are hungry for power and destruction. That's what inspired their army rule, Dark Pacts. With them, the Chaos Space Marines are granted a boon of power. Once the power comes at a price. The Slaves to Darkness detachment further explores the relationship between the Heretic Stars and the Chaos Gods, granting their forces different powers depending on their patron deity. So, curious to see how it's going to turn out with them. So far, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Just love it. So far, it's great. I love Dark Pacts. Everything looks lovely for the CSM. And next one is Necrons. Another army that I own. We're doing well so far. Once they throw sisters up, I'm just gonna cream my jorts. Whew. All right. Thank you everyone for stopping by. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you when the undead legions come back alive. Let's go.